The coffee cup trembles against the saucer. Dorian Hale watches the ripples spread across black liquid, his reflection fractured into a dozen nervous versions of himself. Across the small cafe table, a woman in a red pencil skirt leans forward, her voice dropping to barely more than breath. "I'm not here for a date, sir." His hand freezes halfway to his collar. The white linen suit suddenly feels too tight, too formal, too hopeful for whatever this moment has become. Jazz hums low through invisible speakers. Sunlight cuts through tall windows, painting golden stripes across marble floors. "I'm here to thank you." The words hang in warm air thick with espresso and cinnamon. Dorian's throat closes. He doesn't know this woman. Elegant posture, sleek low bun pulled so tight it makes her cheekbones sharper, darker skin glowing against that fitted black blouse tucked into red fabric that screams confidence he doesn't feel. Her eyes hold something he can't name. Not romance. Not business. Memory. "Thank me." His voice cracks. "For what?" She glances toward the cafe entrance, then back. Her fingers wrap around her own cup, knuckles tight. "For saving my life." The floor tilts. Someone laughs at a distant table. A spoon clinks. His daughter Myra's face flashes through his mind. 8 years old, asleep in his truck, always asleep when the world got complicated. "I don't," he shakes his head. "I think you have the wrong person." Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. 2 years ago, she continues, her voice steady now, stronger. Late night, gas station off Route 9. You stop to help a girl who looked terrified. She pauses, swallows. That girl was me. Dorian's chest tightens. Zen. He remembers rain hammering his windshield, wipers fighting a losing battle. A broken-down sedan with its hood up. A teenage girl shivering in a tank top. Phone dead, eyes wide with the kind of fear that comes from being young and black and alone at midnight. But that was just. You stepped between me and a man who wanted to hurt me. Her chin lifts. You told him you'd already paid for my gas. Fixed my car in the rain. Handed him your ID when he threatened to call the police. The memory crashes back. The man's face, red and twisted. The truck door slamming. Myra's small snore from the back seat. The girl's whispered thank you before she disappeared into darkness. Taillights swallowed by storm. "I never knew your name," Dorian admits. His hands flatten against the table. "You were just gone." She finishes for him. "I had to be. That man was my foster guardian. Already told the police I stole money from him." Her jaw clenches. "For 2 years, I've been running from a lie." The cafe noise fades. All Dorian hears is her breath, his heartbeat, the scrape of her chair as she shifts closer. "I found your name on the ID you gave him. Dorian Hade. I kept it." She reaches into a small black purse, pulls out a worn piece of paper, unfolds it with shaking hands. His driver's license information, printed in faded ink. "Every time I wanted to give up, I looked at this. I told myself if a stranger could stand up for me once, maybe I could stand up for myself." Something hot burns behind Dorian's eyes. He spent 3 years being invisible. Construction sites where foremen don't remember his name, rent checks that always clear but never get him ahead, parent-teacher conferences where other dads wear wedding rings and he wears exhaustion. "You don't owe me thanks," he says quietly. "I owe you everything." Her voice breaks. "I used your name to get my first real job. Told the manager that Mr. Dorian Hale would vouch for me if he could. And now I work with a legal advocacy group helping kids like me." Pride and shame war in his chest. He forgot that night. Just another moment of doing what his wife would have wanted, what Mira would have needed someone to do for her if he wasn't there. But this woman, this survivor, she turned his forgotten kindness into a foundation. "What's your name?" he asks. Neressa Quinn. The name fits her. Strong. Musical. Earned. Why now? The question escapes before he can stop it. "Why find me today?" Neressa's composure cracks. Her eyes dart to the door again, and this time Dorian sees it. The fear beneath the elegance, the way her shoulders curve inward like she's bracing for impact. "Because I needed you to know what you did mattered." Her voice drops to a whisper. "In case something happens to me." The words land like ice water. "What do you mean, in case?" The cafe door chimes. Naresa's face goes pale. A man in a charcoal suit steps inside, phone pressed to his ear, eyes scanning the room with the casual cruelty of someone who's never been told no. His gaze locks on their table. On Naresa, he smiles, and Dorian's blood runs cold. Have you ever met someone who changed your life without knowing it? Drop a comment below, because what happens next proves that no act of kindness ever dies. The man's shoes click against marble, each step deliberate, measured, the kind of walk that announces ownership before words do. He ends his phone call with a swipe, sliding the device into his breast pocket without breaking stride. Naresa's hand shoots across the table, gripping Dorian's wrist. Her palm is iced despite the cafe's warmth. That's him, she breathes. The man stops 3 feet away. Up close, he's older than Dorian first thought. Mid-50s, silver threading through dark hair, slicked back with too much product. His suit probably costs more than Dorian makes in a month. Gold cufflinks catch afternoon light. Found you. The words drip with satisfaction. Your little stunt's over, Naresa. She doesn't respond. Doesn't move except for the rapid rise and fall of her chest. Dorian's pulse hammers in his ears. Every instinct screams danger, but his body stays frozen, caught between stranger and protector, between the safety of silence and the risk of speaking. The man's gaze shifts, lands on Dorian, dismisses him in a heartbeat. And who's this? Mock interest colors his tone. The latest charity case you're collecting stories from? Naresa's grip tightens. Leave him out of this, Gavin. Gavin. The name tastes bitter, even unspoken. Dorian files it away, watches how the man plants his feet too wide, how his jaw clenches when Naresa uses his first name like a weapon. You had your chance to walk away quietly. Gavin's voice drops, intimate and threatening. Instead, you went digging where you don't belong. Now the board wants answers. He leans down, both palms flat on their table. And I intend to remind everyone exactly who you really are, a runaway foster kid with a record. The cafe's background noise continues oblivious. A barista calls out an order. Someone laughs near the counter. The world keeps spinning while this moment crystallizes into something sharp and irreversible. Naresa finally releases Dorian's wrist. She sits straighter, shoulders squared, and for a flash Dorian sees the girl from the gas station, terrified but fighting, cornered but refusing to break. I'm not that girl anymore. No. Gavin straightens, adjusts his cufflinks. Then prove it. Come back to the office. Apologize. We'll call this a misunderstanding and everyone moves on. You mean forget what I found? Her voice steadies. Forget the fake youth programs, the missing federal funds, the donations that never reached a single foster kid. The temperature drops. Gavin's smile vanishes. His hand moves so fast Dorian barely tracks it, reaching inside his jacket. For a weapon? A phone? But Naresa doesn't flinch. Careful, Gavin says softly. Accusations like that destroy careers, especially from someone with your history. He pulls out a phone after all, holding it up. One call, Naresa. One call, and every news outlet in the city gets reminded of the teenage thief who ran from the law. Dorian's hands curl into fists beneath the table. Construction work has made his knuckles rough, scarred, capable of breaking through drywall when sledgehammers aren't enough. Naresa's next words come out barely audible. If something happens to me, she looks at Dorian, eyes brimming. Tell them the truth. The moment stretches. Gavin's thumb hovers over his phone screen. Naresa's breathing quickens. And Dorian realizes with sickening clarity that he's watching something bigger than a cafe confrontation. This is a threat, a promise, an ending already written. But to understand why this moment matters, why Naresa Quinn risked everything to find a construction worker she met once in the rain, you have to go back. 3 years earlier, before the white suit and the red skirt and the coffee that's gone cold. Back when Dorian Hale was just trying to survive one more day in a world that had forgotten his name. The alarm doesn't make sound anymore. Dorian's hand slams down on vibrate before his eyes open. Muscle memory from months of 4:30 wake-ups. Darkness presses against bedroom windows. The apartment is silent except for Myra's soft breathing in the next room and the radiator's asthmatic rattle. He sits up. His back screams protest. Yesterday's concrete pour, 16 hours of lifting and smoothing and pretending his spine isn't 42 years old. The floor is cold beneath bare feet. His reflection in the bathroom mirror is grayscale. Gray stubble, gray circles under gray eyes, gray life in a gray city. Once he designed buildings, glass towers that touch clouds, museum wings that made people stop and photograph angles and light. His wife used to trace blueprints on their kitchen table, her finger following elevation lines while Mira colored in the margins. That was before cancer took her voice, then her strength, then everything else. Now he mixes cement. The coffee maker gurgles. Dorian pulls on yesterday's jeans, yesterday's thermal shirt, yesterday's steel-toed boots with the left lace fraying near the ankle. His white linen suit hangs in the closet behind wire hangers holding nothing else worth saving. The suit his wife called hope-colored, the one he wore to her funeral, the one that hasn't seen daylight since. Daddy. Mira stands in the doorway, drowning in an oversized t-shirt, hair wild from sleep. 8 years old, but carrying weight behind her eyes that no kid should know. Too early, baby. He crosses to her and kneels. Go back to bed. Are you coming home tonight? The question cuts. Last week he worked a double shift, didn't make it back until she was already asleep. Missed helping with homework. Missed dinner. Missed the small moments that add up to childhood. Promise, he says. She studies his face like she's learned not to trust words anymore. Then nods and shuffles back toward her room, and Dorian hates himself a little more. The construction site is 20 minutes by bus. He sits near the back, surrounded by other men in work boots and high-vis vests, all of them silent, all of them staring at phones or windows or nothing. Nobody meets eyes. Nobody speaks. They're ghosts punching clocks. His foreman barely glances up when Dorian clocks in. Ale, you're on foundation detail. East corner. No good morning. No acknowledgement that Dorian once supervised projects twice this size. Just a pointing finger and an assumption that he'll comply. He does. The work is mindless. Chevel, lift, pull. Repeat, repeat, repeat. His shoulders burn. His hands blister inside worn gloves. Around him, younger men joke and complain and plan their weekends. They don't include him in conversations. To them, he's just a quiet guy who keeps his head down. Another invisible body filling space until quitting time. Lunch break comes. Dorian eats alone on a concrete barrier, sandwich made from Tuesday's bread and Thursday's deli meat. His phone buzzes. Myra's school. Permission slip for a field trip. $25 he doesn't have floating in checking. He signs anyway. Always signs. Because what else can he do? Tell his daughter no? Explain that rent went up and groceries went up and his wage stayed the same? She already knows they're poor. She already hears him counting change before bedtime. Already sees the way he eats smaller portions so she can have seconds. Joe, Ale. A younger worker jogs over. Marcus, maybe 25, tattoos crawling up his neck. You used to be an architect, right? Dorian nods. Could you look at this? Marcus pulls out his phone, shows him blueprints for a residential project. My cousin's trying to add a second floor, but the inspector says the load-bearing math doesn't work. For 10 minutes, Dorian falls into old rhythms. He sketches corrections on a napkin, explains weight distribution, points out where steel reinforcement needs upgrading. Marcus watches like Dorian's speaking magic. Man, you should be running this site, not digging holes. Dorian hands back the phone. Life doesn't work that way. Why not? Because promotions go to men who look like success. Because single fathers with gaps in their resume don't get second chances. Because the world decides your worth based on bank statements and postcodes and how white your collar is. But Dorian just shrugs. It is what it is. That night, he keeps his promise. Makes it home by 6. Helps Mira with math homework. Fractions that feel like metaphors. They eat spaghetti from the pot because washing extra dishes wastes water costs money. She tells him about a boy who pulled her hair. He tells her she's stronger than meanness. After she's asleep, Dorian sits at the kitchen table with his old sketchbook. Empty pages stare back. He used to draw every night. Buildings that didn't exist yet. Spaces that could change how people move through the world. Dreams in graphite and ink. Now, the pencil feels foreign in his hand. He closes the book, turns off the light, lies in bed staring at ceiling cracks that look like rivers on a map to nowhere. This is life now. This is enough. This has to be enough. Until a coworker slips him a folded note during Thursday's shift. Paper soft from being carried in a pocket. Dorian opens it during break, reads words written in unfamiliar handwriting. Someone wants to meet you. Café Lumière, 2 p.m., Sunday. Dress nice. No signature. No explanation. Just an invitation that doesn't make sense. Dorian stares at the note for 5 minutes, then folds it carefully and slides it into his wallet next to Myra's
Sunday morning
tastes
and his
like
wife's
possibility.
memorial card.
Dorian
Life
stands in front of the
remembered him
bathroom
after all.
mirror, razor poised against the lathered jaw. The blade scrapes through 3 days of stubble, revealing skin that looks younger without the gray. He rinses, stares at his reflection like he's meeting himself for the first time in months. The white linen suit waits on his bed. He hasn't touched it since the funeral. The fabric still smells faintly of cedar from the closet, mixed with ghost traces of his wife's perfume from when she pressed against him during their last anniversary dinner. Hope-colored, she'd said, like fresh paint on new walls. He slides arms through sleeves, buttons the jacket. The fit is looser now. Construction work burns weight differently than desk jobs, leaves him leaner and harder and somehow smaller. Mira watches from the doorway. You look fancy, Daddy. Yeah. He adjusts the collar. Too much. She tilts her head, considering with the brutal honesty only 8-year-olds possess. You look like the pictures. From before. Before. The word encompasses everything. Before Mom died, before the job ended, before poverty became routine. Dorian swallows past the lump in his throat. Mrs. Chen's expecting you at noon, he reminds her. Do your reading homework. I'll be back by 4. Is this a date? Heat crawls up his neck. I don't know what it is, baby. She grins. Ms. Rodriguez says you need to smile more. She thinks you're handsome. Mira. I told her you're just tired. He kneels, pulling her into a hug that lasts longer than necessary. She smells like strawberry shampoo and cereal and the specific sweetness of childhood that's already slipping away too fast. Love you, he whispers. Love you more. The bus ride downtown feels surreal. Other passengers glance at his suit with curiosity or disdain. He can't tell which. An elderly woman smiles. A teenager smirks. Dorian keeps his eyes forward, watching the city transform from worn neighborhoods to polished storefronts as they travel west. Café Lumière sits on a corner block dressed in brick and tall windows. The name is written in elegant gold script above the entrance. Through glass, Dorian sees exposed brick walls, vintage light fixtures casting warm amber glow, small round tables occupied by couples and laptops, and the kind of people who order lattes with unpronounceable modifiers. His pulse quickens. This isn't his world. These aren't his people. He's a construction worker pretending to be someone he used to be, wearing a suit that doesn't fit the man he's become. But he pushes through the door anyway. Jazz wraps around him immediately, saxophone and piano weaving through conversation. The air is thick with roasted coffee and baked goods. Afternoon sunlight streams through windows, painting golden stripes across dark marble floors. And there, by the window, she sits. Red pencil skirt, black blouse fitted like intention. Hair pulled back, so tight it transforms her face into sculpture. All sharp angles and elegant lines. Dark skin glowing in window light. Her posture is perfect. Her hands rest on the table, fingers interlaced, no rings. She's beautiful, not the soft beauty of magazines or movies, but something harder, earned. The kind of beauty that comes from surviving things that should break you. Their eyes meet. She stands. Dorian's feet carry him forward through a maze of tables, past a couple arguing quietly, past a man typing furiously on a laptop, past all the normal life happening while this moment crystallizes into something that will change everything. Mr. Hale, her voice is quiet, controlled, but underneath, he hears tremor of something. Nervousness? Fear? Recognition? That's me. His own voice sounds foreign. Sorry, I don't. Do we know each other? She gestures to the chair across from her. Please. Seat. He does. The chair is metal and surprisingly comfortable. Up close, he notices details. The small silver earrings, the faint scar on her left temple, the way her eyes keep darting to the door like she's expecting someone unwanted. I wasn't sure you'd come, she admits. I wasn't sure I should. Honesty feels safer than pretense. The note didn't explain much. A waiter appears, young, bored, already moving to the next table before Dorian orders black coffee. The woman orders chai, no modifications, and the waiter disappears into kitchen noise. Silence stretches. She studies him like she's memorizing features. He studies her because he can't help it. The way her jaw clenches and releases, the small pulse visible at her throat, the careful way she breathes like she's counting inhales. You probably think this is strange, she begins. Little bit, he admits with a nervous laugh. I'm sorry. She stops. Starts again. I needed to see you in person. To know you're real. Confusion knots his stomach. Real. Their drinks arrive in ceramic mugs too beautiful for coffee. Steam rises between them, creating temporary curtains that dissipate and reform. She wraps both hands around her chai. The gesture is protective. Childlike. I'm not here for a date, sir. The floor tilts. Everything Dorian assumed. The suit, the mysterious note, the Sunday afternoon at a cafe that screams romance. All of it collapses into something else entirely. Then why? I'm here to thank you. The words land soft but devastating. Dorian's mind races through possibilities. A former client? Someone he helped on a job site? A distant relative of his wife's? But nothing connects. This woman is maybe mid-20s, too young to be from his architecture days, too polished to be from recent construction work. Thank me? His hand hovers over his coffee cup, forgotten. For what? She leans closer. Sunlight catches the red of her skirt, makes it look like fire. And when she speaks next, her voice drops to barely more than breath, intimate and urgent and terrifying. For saving my life. Rain hammers the windshield in sheets. 2 years earlier. Different life. Same exhaustion. Dorian's wipers beat a losing battle against the storm, rubber scraping glass in rhythm with thunder that shakes his truck's frame. The clock on the dash reads 11:47 p.m. Route 9 stretches dark and empty ahead, white lines blurred by water. Mira sleeps in the back seat, 6 years old then, small body curled against princess pillows. Her soft snores are the only proof she exists beyond the headrest. He's driving back from his wife's sister's house, dinner that ran late, conversations that circled grief without landing, the specific exhaustion of performing okay for family who needs you to be healing. The gas light blinks on. Perfect. Dorian takes the next exit, follows signs to a 24-hour station that looks abandoned except for fluorescent lights buzzing over empty pumps. He pulls in, kills the engine, debates waking Mira or risking 5 minutes alone. She doesn't stir when he opens his door. Rain soaks through his jacket immediately. He jogs to the pump, slides his card, starts filling. The smell of gasoline mixes with wet asphalt and ozone. Lightning cracks the sky, painting everything white for a heartbeat. That's when he sees her. A girl, teenager, maybe 16 or 17, standing next to a sedan with its hood propped open, engine steaming in the rain. She wears a thin tank top and jeans, no jacket, arms wrapped around herself. Her hair is plastered to her skull. Even from 20 feet away, Dorian sees her shaking. He glances back at his truck. Mira is still sleeping. Then back to the girl. His wife's voice echoes. Do the thing that lets you look at yourself tomorrow. The pump clicks off. Dorian replaces the nozzle, crosses wet pavement. Hey, his voice comes out gentle. Non tretening. Car trouble. The girl jumps. Her eyes go wide, dark brown, bloodshot, rimmed with the kind of fear that comes from more than just rain and broken engines. Words tumble out disconnected. My phone died and I don't know anyone and it's late and... It's okay. Dorian raises both hands, showing empty palms. I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to help. She studies his face. Whatever she sees there makes some of the panic ease. I think it's the battery. Or maybe the alternator. I don't know cars. Let me look. He moves to the engine, careful to stay visible, to make no sudden movements. The problem is obvious even in rain and bad light. Corroded battery terminals, connections barely holding. A $10 fix at any auto shop. But at midnight in a storm, it might as well be impossible. I can clean these connections, Dorian says. Get you running. I don't have money to pay you. Didn't ask for any. He works quickly, using a pocket knife to scrape corrosion, creating temporary contact that should hold long enough for her to get wherever she's going. Rain runs down his neck, soaks through shirt to skin. His hands go numb, but he keeps working. Behind them, tires splash through puddles. A truck pulls into the station, big Ford, lifted, Confederate flag decal in the back window. It parks at the pump next to Dorian's, and a man climbs out. White, 50s, beard stained yellow from tobacco. He clocks the girl immediately. Well. His voice carries over rain. Look who we got here. The girl goes rigid. The man walks toward them, boots splashing, eyes locked on her face. You think you could just run off, Keisha? Think I wouldn't find you. Keisha. So that's her name. Dorian files it away, stays focused on battery connections, but his body tenses. I paid for gas already, the man continues. Cops are going to want to hear about that. About a lot of things. I didn't steal anything, Keisha whispers. That's not what I'll tell them. Dorian straightens, positions himself between them. The gas is on me. Already handled. The man's attention shifts. He looks Dorian up and down. Ratty jacket, construction boots, black skin in a white county after midnight. His lip curls. This your business? It is now. You know this girl? I know someone in trouble when I see it. Dorian's voice stays level. Calm. But his hands curl into fists at his sides. And I know she's leaving. Tonight. The man steps closer. Dorian smells alcohol beneath rain and gasoline. You want to be a hero, boy? Want to stick your nose where it doesn't belong. Something hot and familiar rises in Dorian's chest. The same rage that built during police stops and housing rejections, and every time someone looked at him and saw threat instead of human. But he swallows it. Forces calm. I want to make sure a young girl gets home safe. She ain't got a home. She's a foster. The man spits the word like curse. And I'm her legal guardian. So unless you want trouble, call the police then. The man's eyes narrow. What? Dorian reaches into his pocket slowly, pulls out his wallet, removes his driver's license. Holds out. You want to involve cops? Fine. Here's my ID. Dorian Hade. Address right there. They can come talk to me about why I'm helping a minor who looked terrified. Rain drums against metal and pavement and skin. Lightning illuminates three faces locked in standoff. The girl's hopeful terror, the man's impotent rage, Dorian's steady defiance. The man snatches the license, studies it in truck headlights. Dorian Hale, he reads slowly. Chicago. Construction worker. He laughs, bitter, ugly sound. Big man, huh? Think you're special. I think I'm someone who knows right from wrong. For 5 seconds, anything could happen. Violence crackles in wet air. The man's hand twitches toward his belt. Dorian's weight shifts, ready. Then headlights sweep across them. Another car pulling in. Witness. The man curses, throws the license at Dorian's feet. This ain't over. You got no idea what you're messing with. He storms back to his truck, engine roaring to life, tires spraying water as he peels out onto empty highway. Dorian exhales, bends to retrieve his license from a puddle, wipes it dry on jeans already soaked. When he turns back, Keisha is crying, silent tears mixing with rain. Thank you. Her voice breaks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You need to go. Dorian moves back to her car. Right now, drive far and don't stop. I don't know where. Doesn't matter. Anywhere is better than here. He tests the engine. It turns over rough, but catches. You have enough gas to make 50 miles. Find a police station, a church, someone who can actually help. She nods, still crying, and climbs behind the wheel. Dorian closes her door gently. Through the window, their eyes meet one last time. What's your name? She asks. Already gave it to him. Dorian Hade. Dorian Hale. She repeats like prayer. I won't forget. Her taillights disappear into storm and darkness, and Dorian stands alone in rain at a gas station that will close in 3 hours. His license still dripping water. His daughter still sleeping in his truck. He doesn't feel like a hero, just tired. So damn tired. But when he slides back behind the wheel and checks Mira in the rearview mirror, still asleep, still safe, still his entire world, something settles in his chest. Do the thing that lets you look at yourself tomorrow. He did. And 2 years later, sitting in a sunlit cafe across from a woman in red who just whispered for saving my life, Dorian finally understands. That night in the rain didn't end when Keisha drove away. It followed her, shaped her, became the foundation of everything she built after. And now she's come back. Not the terrified girl from the gas station, but Nerissa Quinn, poised and purposeful and carrying secrets that will change both their lives forever. Ever wonder if the people you help remember you? Drop a heart if you believe kindness creates ripples we never see, because Nerissa's about to reveal just how far those ripples traveled. Nerissa's hands won't stop shaking. She sets the chai down before it spills, presses palms flat against the table like she can anchor herself to marble and wood. Dorian watches her throat work, swallowing words that won't come easy. After that night, she begins, I drove until the car died in Pennsylvania. Slept in a Walmart parking lot for 3 days. Ate from dumpsters behind grocery stores. Her voice is steady, but her eyes aren't. They dart between Dorian's face and the table, never settling. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him. That man. My foster guardian, Leon Pritchard. The name lands heavy. Dorian commits it to memory alongside the rain and the fear. He'd been placing foster kids in his home for 12 years. State paid him $600 a month per child. He took 5 of us at a time. She pauses. Never spent $1 on us. Food was whatever didn't sell at his convenience store. Clothes came from church donations. The money went to his truck, his hunting trips, his bar tabs. Dorian's jaw clenches. Around them, cafe life continues. Conversations about weekend plans, laptop keys clicking, espresso machine hissing. Normal people living normal lives while Nerissa describes survival. When I turned 16, I asked about college. He laughed. Said girls like me don't go to college. We go to work. Her fingers traced the rim of her cup. That's when I knew I had to leave. But he told everyone I stole $300 from his register. Filed a police report. Made sure my name was mud before I even ran. The police believed him. Leon knows every cop in that county. Goes to their barbecues. Buys them drinks. They weren't looking for a runaway foster kid. They were looking for a thief. She meets his eyes finally. For 2 years, I couldn't use my real name. Couldn't apply for jobs or housing or anything that required ID. I was nobody. The weight of that, being erased by lies, presses against Dorian's chest. But I had your name, Nerissa continues. Dorian Hade. I kept that license information like it was scripture, and when I finally got desperate enough, I walked into a community center in Philadelphia and asked for help. The woman there, Mrs. Okafor, she asked if I had any references. Dorian's breath catches. I told her about you, about the man who stood up to my foster guardian in the rain, who gave me his ID without knowing if he'd ever see it again, who fixed my car and sent me into the night with enough hope to keep driving. Nerissa's voice cracks. I said if she called Dorian Hale, he'd tell her I was worth the chance. But you never called me. I couldn't. I didn't have your number, just your name and address from that license. But Mrs. Okafor, she believed the story. Said anyone who'd risk their safety for a stranger probably raised someone worth believing in. Tears well in Nerissa's eyes. She gave me a job. Minimum wage, cleaning offices. But it was legal. Real. Mine. Pride swells in Dorian's throat. He wants to tell her she earned that herself, that his small act was nothing compared to her survival. But she's not finished. I worked 3 jobs for 18 months. Saved every penny. Got my GD. Applied to community college. She pulls a napkin from the dispenser, dabs at her eyes carefully, preserving makeup. Then Mrs. Okafor connected me with a legal advocacy group, Youth Justice Coalition. They help teens aging out of foster care. I started as an intern. And now, Now I'm a case manager. I help kids like I was the ones the system failed, the ones everyone labeled throwaways. Her chin lifts with hard-won dignity. Last month, I processed paperwork for 43 teenagers. Found housing for 12. Got 3 into college programs. The transformation is staggering. Gas station girl to advocate. Thief to hero. All built on one night of decency that Dorian had filed away and forgotten. That's incredible, Nerissa. It's because of you. No, he shakes his head. It's because of you. You gave me proof that someone cared. Her voice drops. Do you understand what that means? In that moment, with Leon screaming and rain everywhere and me thinking I'd rather die than go back, you stood between us. A complete stranger chose me over safety. Dorian's chest tightens. He thinks of Mira, of all the times strangers could have helped and didn't, of how many Neressas exist in the world without anyone willing to stand in the rain. I did what anyone should have done, but nobody else did. Not the teachers who saw bruises. Not the social workers who filed reports that went nowhere. Not the neighbors who heard him yelling. She leans forward. Just you. Dorian Hale in a ratty jacket with a sleeping daughter in his truck. You were the only one. The words settle like benediction and burden both. A phone buzzes. Nerissa glances at hers, and her face goes white. What is it? She turns the screen toward him. A text message from an unknown number. Still running? We know where you are. Dorian's blood chills. Who sent that? I don't know. But I think she stops. Starts again. Her whole body trembles now. I think someone's been following me. For weeks. Ever since I found the discrepancies. What discrepancies? Nerissa looks toward the cafe door, then back. When she speaks, her voice barely rises above whisper. Youth Justice Coalition gets federal funding. Grants for housing, education, job training. Millions of dollars earmarked for at-risk teens. She swallows hard. 3 months ago, I noticed our budget reports didn't match our actual expenses. Money disappearing into vendor contracts that don't exist. Programs serving 0 kids, but billing for hundreds. Understanding crashes over Dorian like cold water. Someone stealing the funds. Not just someone. My boss, Gavin Price, CEO of the parent company that manages our coalition and 6 others across the state. Her hands ball into fists. He's been laundering federal money for years. Using foster kids' names, inventing fake success stories, pocketing millions while actual children sleep on streets. The injustice of it, stealing from the most vulnerable, profiting from their pain, ignites rage in Dorian's gut. You confronted him. I made copies first. Documentation, bank statements, emails, stored everything in a safety deposit box. She pulls her purse closer, protective. Then I told him I knew. Gave him a chance to make it right. Let me guess. He threatened you instead. He said I'm nobody. A former runaway with a criminal record nobody would believe. He said if I went public, he'd make sure Leon Pritchard's lies followed me forever. Her voice breaks, and then strange things started happening. Someone broke into my apartment, but didn't take anything. Just moved things around so I'd know they were there. My car got keyed. That text today, that's the 3rd one this week. Dorian's protective instincts flare. This woman rebuilt herself from ashes, turned trauma into purpose, and now someone wants to burn her down again because she dared to demand justice. Why did you come here today? Why find me now? Nerissa's answer is barely audible. Because I needed you to know the truth. In case something happens to me, someone good needs to know what Gavin Price really is. She reaches across the table, grabs his hand. You saved me once. I needed to believe you'd help save others if I can. The responsibility of that, being her contingency plan, her last line of defense, should feel overwhelming. Instead, it feels right, like the universe circling back to a moment in the rain and saying this isn't finished yet. Nothing's going to happen to you, Dorian says firmly. You don't know that. Then we make sure. The cafe door chimes. Both of them turn, and Dorian's heart stops. Because the man walking through the entrance, charcoal suit, silver hair, gold cufflinks catching afternoon light, isn't just anyone. It's him, Gavin Price. And from the cold smile spreading across his face as his eyes lock on Nerissa, he's been looking for her all along. Gavin's shoes announce him before words do. Click, click, click against marble. Each step measured, deliberate, a predator closing distance on prey that's run out of places to hide. His phone is pressed to his ear, but his eyes never leave Nerissa's face. I'll call you back, he says into the device. Ends the conversation with a swipe. Slides it into his breast pocket without breaking stride. Dorian feels Nerissa's grip tighten on his hand, her palm slick with sweat, trembling like a bird's heartbeat. Found you. Gavin stops at their table. Up close, he's everything Dorian expected. Expensive cologne, perfect teeth, the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. Your little stunt's over, Nerissa. She doesn't respond, just stares up at him with eyes that hold too many emotions at once. Fear and defiance and exhaustion from running. Gavin's attention shifts to Dorian, assesses him in one dismissive glance. The white linen suit that's seen better days, the construction rough hands, the black skin that tells certain men everything they need to decide you're beneath notice. And who's this? Mock politeness coats his words. The latest charity case you're collecting stories from? Something hot flares in Dorian's chest, but he keeps his face neutral. Observes how Gavin plants his feet too wide, how his jaw muscle jumps when Nerissa uses his first name like a weapon. Leave him out of this, Gavin. Out of what exactly? Gavin pulls out the empty chair at their table, sits without invitation. His cologne is oppressive, bergamot and entitlement. I just came to check on my favorite employee. Make sure she's feeling better after her unfortunate breakdown last week. I didn't have a breakdown. That's not what HR documented. Erratic behavior, unfounded accusations, emotional instability. He leans back, casual, but his eyes are ice. We've been very concerned about you, Nerissa. The whole team. Dorian watches the manipulation unfold. The false concern, the reframing of truth into mental illness. The way Gavin's voice carries just loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Setting the stage. Building his defense. You had your chance to walk away quietly, Gavin continues. Instead, you went digging where you don't belong. Now the board wants answers. He leans forward, elbows on table. And I intend to remind everyone exactly who you really are, a runaway foster kid with a record. The cafe ambient noise continues around them. A barista calls out a name. Someone laughs. Jazz plays through invisible speakers. Normal life spinning while this confrontation crystallizes into something dangerous. Nerissa finally releases Dorian's hand. Sits straighter. When she speaks, her voice is steady. I'm not that girl anymore. No. Gavin's smile is razors wrapped in velvet. Then prove it. Come back to the office Monday. Apologize for the confusion. We'll call this a misunderstanding and everyone moves on. You mean forget what I found? Not a question. Forget the fake youth programs, the missing federal funds, the donations that never reached a single foster kid. The temperature drops. Several nearby conversations pause. A woman at the next table glances over, curiosity on her face. Gavin's smile vanishes. His hand moves fast, reaches inside his jacket. And Dorian's entire body tenses, ready to lunge. But it's just a phone. Gavin pulls it out slowly, deliberately, holds it up like a threat. Careful, Nerissa. His voice goes quiet, intimate, lethal. Accusations like that destroy careers, especially from someone with your history. He unlocks the screen with his thumb. One call. That's all it takes. One call, and every news outlet in the city gets reminded of the teenage thief who ran from the law. Dorian's hands curl into fists beneath the table. 3 years of construction work have made his knuckles hard, scarred, capable of serious damage. He imagines standing, imagines his fist connecting with Gavin's perfect teeth, imagines the satisfaction of watching this predator bleed. But violence would prove Gavin right, would make Dorian the threat society already assumes he is. So he stays seated, silent, watching. Nerissa's breathing quickens. Her eyes shine with unshed tears. And when she speaks next, her words come out barely audible. If something happens to me, she looks at Dorian, really looks at him, like she's memorizing his face. Tell them the truth. The plea lands in Dorian's chest like a promise he never asked to make, but can't refuse. Gavin laughs. Actually laughs. Sharp, ugly sound that makes the woman at the next table frown. Nothing's going to happen to you, Neressa. You got to accept reality. Come Monday, you'll be back at your desk, filing paperwork, helping actual kids instead of inventing conspiracy theories. He stands, adjusts his cufflinks with practiced ease. Or you'll be unemployed with a criminal record that ensures you stay that way. He turns to leave, and Dorian makes a choice. You don't get to threaten her here. The words come out calm, measured, but they stop Gavin mid-step. He turns slowly, looks at Dorian like he's noticing him for the first time. Excuse me. Dorian stands. The white suit suddenly feels less like costume, more like armor. He's taller than Gavin by 3 inches, broader by 30 pounds of muscle earned through labor the other man has never known. I said, Dorian's voice stays level, controlled, but underneath it runs steel. You don't get to threaten her. Not here. Not today. Gavin's expression shifts through confusion to contempt. And who the hell are you? Her boyfriend? Her lawyer? He scoffs. You're nothing. Just another broke. He's the man who taught me what real power looks like. Neressa's voice cuts through the cafe like a blade. She stands too, positioning herself beside Dorian. Her red skirt catches light. Her posture straightens, and suddenly she's not the frightened girl from the gas station or the trembling employee afraid of her boss. She's someone who survived. Real power is standing up when no one else will. She continues, voice growing stronger. Real power is choosing right over easy. Real power is being the kind of person who stops for strangers in the rain because it's the decent thing to do. Her eyes lock on Gavin's. You think money makes you powerful? Your suit? Your title? Your threats? She shakes her head. That's not power. That's just fear dressed up in expensive clothes. And I'm done being afraid of you. The cafe has gone quiet. Not silent. The espresso machine still hisses, music still plays, but the conversations have stopped. People are watching now. A young man in the corner has his phone out, screen glowing. Recording. Gavin sees it too. His face flushes red. You're making a mistake. The only mistake was thinking you could get away with stealing from children. Neressa's voice carries now, meant for the room. How many kids, Gavin? How many foster teenagers went hungry while you pocketed their housing money? How many aged out of the system with nothing because you billed for programs that never existed? Shut your mouth. $3.7 million over 4 years. She pulls a folded paper from her purse, holds it up. I have the bank records, the fake vendor contracts, the names of board members who signed off without asking questions. All of it. Gavin lunges. His hand shoots out, grabbing for the paper, but Dorian moves faster. Steps between them, catches Gavin's wrist mid-reach, and holds it firm. Not squeezing, not hurting, just stopping forward motion with the calm certainty of someone who's had enough. Don't, Dorian says quietly. Their eyes meet, and something passes between them. The recognition that this moment is being recorded, that witnesses are watching, that the next 30 seconds will define what happens after. Gavin jerks his arm free, stumbles back a step. His face is purple now, veins visible at his temples. You have no idea what you're doing, he hisses at Neressa. No idea who you're messing with. I will destroy you. Both of you. I will make sure that everyone knows the truth. The new voice comes from the cafe entrance. A woman in her 60s, dark skin, silver hair and elegant twists, wearing a purple pantsuit and carrying authority like a second skin. She walks toward their table with purpose, phone in hand, screen displaying a video that's clearly been recording for the past 2 minutes. Mrs. Okafor, Neressa breathes. Baby girl. The woman reaches them, places a protective hand on Neressa's shoulder. I got your message. Came as fast as I could. Her eyes shift to Gavin. And I've recorded every word this man just said. Gavin's face goes from purple to white. You can't. That's illegal. Pennsylvania is a one-party consent state, Mr. Price. Mrs. Okafor's smile is all teeth. I only need my own permission to record. And as a licensed social worker and advocate for at-risk youth, I'm legally obligated to report suspected fraud involving minors. She taps her phone screen, uploading to cloud storage as we speak, along with the contact information for the FBI field office downtown. The cafe door chimes again. 2 police officers walk in, not rushing, just routine patrol stopping for coffee. But their presence shifts everything. Gavin sees them, sees the phone's recording, sees his carefully constructed world cracking apart in real time. "This isn't over," he says, voice shaking with barely controlled rage. "This is far from over." He storms out, shoulder checking one of the cops on his way through the door. They turn, watch him go, then glance toward the gathering crowd around Dorian's table with professional curiosity. Mrs. Okafor waves them over with grandmother warmth. "Officers, thank goodness you're here. I think we need to file a report." The police station smells like burnt coffee and desperation. Dorian sits in a plastic chair that's too small, watching Nerissa give her statement to a detective whose nameplate reads Morrison. Mrs. Okafor sits beside her, occasionally interjecting with legal terms and references to state codes that make the detective nod and scribble notes faster. 3 hours have passed since the cafe. The video went viral in 90 minutes. Gavin's threats, Nerissa's accusations, Dorian's quiet stand, all captured from multiple angles and shared across platforms with hashtags demanding investigation. By hour 2, local news had picked it up. By hour 3, federal investigators were involved. Now they wait. Dorian's phone buzzes. A text from Mrs. Chun, his neighbor watching Mira, saw the news. "Myra's fine. Take your time. You're a good man, Dorian." He exhales slowly. The white suit is rumpled now, collar darkened with sweat. His hands rest on his knees, fingers interlaced, and he watches Nerissa's profile as she speaks. The way her chin stays lifted despite exhaustion. The way she doesn't flinch when describing Leon Pritchard or Gavin Price or the years of running. She's extraordinary. Detective Morrison closes his notebook. "We'll need time to verify the documents. But based on preliminary review and Mr. Price's recorded statements, there's enough for a warrant." "How long?" Mrs. Okafor asks. "Fraud investigation at this scale? Could be months. Federal involvement means interagency coordination, grand jury proceedings." He looks at Nerissa with something like respect. "You did good work documenting everything. Most people wouldn't have been this thorough." "Most people weren't raised to trust the system," Nerissa replies quietly. Morrison has the grace to look uncomfortable. "Fair point." They're released with instructions to stay available for follow-up questions. The parking lot outside is dark. Nearly 8 p.m., stars hidden behind city light pollution. Dorian's truck sits alone under a flickering lamp. "I should get home," he says. "My daughter." "Wait." Nerissa turns to face him fully. Mrs. Okafor discreetly steps away, checking her phone. "I need to say something." Dorian waits. "You didn't have to do that." In the cafe, standing up to Gavin. "You could have walked away, stayed out of it. Most people would have." Her voice cracks. "But you stepped between us again, just like the rain. I wasn't going to let him hurt you." "I know. That's what I'm trying to say." She steps closer. The parking lot lamp casts harsh shadows across her face, but her eyes are bright. "You're the kind of person who makes the world better just by being in it. Not because you're rich or powerful or connected. Because you're decent. And decency is the rarest thing." Dorian's throat tightens. He thinks of his tiny apartment, his daughter's second-hand clothes, the construction site where he's invisible. Nothing about his life looks successful from the outside. But maybe success isn't measured in bank accounts or square footage. Maybe it's measured in moments like this, standing in rain, sitting in cafes, being the person who chooses right when wrong is easier. "What happens now?" he asks. "Now I testify, help the investigators build their case. Make sure every stolen dollar gets traced, every fake program exposed." She smiles despite tears. "And I keep doing my job. Keep helping kids who need someone to believe in them." "You're going to change lives, Nerissa." "I already did. You just gave me the foundation to build on." Mrs. Okafor returns, keys jangling. "Come on, baby. Let's get you home. You need rest." Nerissa hugs Dorian quickly, brief, fierce, the kind of embrace that says more than words. Then she pulls back, wipes her eyes, and walks toward Mrs. Okafor's car with the exhausted grace of someone who survived another battle. Dorian drives home through empty streets, radio playing soft jazz that reminds him of the cafe. His mind replays the day, the mysterious note, the woman in red, the revelations and threats, and the moment he chose to stand instead of stay seated. Mira is asleep when he arrives. Mrs. Chun waves away his apologies, tells him the whole neighborhood is proud, refuses payment for babysitting. "You did something good today," she says. "Let people celebrate that." He carries Mira from the couch to her bed, tucks blankets around small shoulders. She stirs, mumbles something about princesses, doesn't wake. He watches her chest rise and fall, thinks about all the Neresses in the world who don't have safe places to sleep. His phone buzzes again. Not a text this time, a news alert. CEO Gavin Price under investigation for federal fraud. The article is brief, citing anonymous sources and ongoing investigation. But it's real. It's happening. One man's greed being dragged into light because one woman refused to stay silent. Dorian sets his phone down, strips off the white suit carefully, hangs it back in the closet behind wire hangers. The fabric still smells like coffee and courage. Tomorrow he'll return to construction sites and unpaid bills and the quiet exhaustion of single parenthood. But tonight, he allows himself to feel something he hasn't felt in years. Hope. The headline appears 6 weeks later. Former foster youth brings down $1 million fraud scheme. Dorian reads it on his phone during lunch break, sitting on the same concrete barrier, eating the same sandwich. But everything else has changed. The investigation moved faster than anyone expected. Gavin Price's empire, built on stolen federal funds and fabricated success stories, collapsed under scrutiny. Bank accounts frozen, board members resigning, partners scrambling to distance themselves from toxic brand. The evidence Neressa collected proved devastating. Emails showing Gavin ordering staff to create fake client profiles. Bank transfers routing grant money through shell companies he controlled. Vendor contracts signed with businesses that didn't exist. $3.7 million stolen over 4 years. Money meant for housing, education, job training for teenagers aging out of foster care. Money that went to Gavin's vacation home in Aspen, his daughter's private school tuition, his luxury car collection. The grand jury indicted him on 14 counts. Federal prosecutors called it one of the most egregious cases of nonprofit fraud they'd seen. But what caught fire on social media wasn't just the fraud. It was the video. Someone had been recording from the moment Gavin entered the cafe. The footage showed everything. His threats, Neressa's courage, Dorian's quiet stand, Mrs. Okafor's perfect timing. Within days, it had 50 million views. News outlets picked it up. Morning shows debated it. The phrase real power became a hashtag, and Dorian became something he never wanted recognized. His old architecture firm called. The senior partner, a man named Harrison who'd laid him off 3 years ago, invited Dorian to lunch, apologized for having to make difficult choices during restructuring, offered him a position. Not entry level, not construction liaison, but senior project manager with benefits and salary that made Dorian's throat close. "We've been following your story," Harrison said over expensive steaks Dorian barely touched. "The way you handled yourself in that cafe. The integrity, the composure. That's the kind of leadership we need." Dorian wanted to laugh, to ask where this interest was when he was begging for work, sending resumes into void, watching savings evaporate. But he just nodded and said he'd think about it. The job offer sat heavy in his mind for 3 days before he called Harrison back. "I'll take it," he said, "on one condition." "Name it." Youth Justice Coalition, the organization Neressa works for, needs pro bono architecture services. Their offices are falling apart. They need someone to redesign the space, make it actually work for the kids they serve. Dorian paused. "I want that to be my first project." Harrison agreed immediately. "Good publicity," he said. "Great optics for the firm." Dorian didn't care about optics. He cared about making sure Neressa's work had foundation, literal and metaphorical, to continue. Now, 2 months later, Dorian stands in front of an audience he never expected. The community center is packed. Every seat filled, people standing along walls, news cameras in the back. The event is billed as Voices from the System, a panel discussion featuring advocates, former foster youth policy experts. Nerissa is the keynote speaker. She stands at the podium in navy blue suit, hair still pulled into that sleek bun, but something about her posture is different. Less defensive, more certain. She's become the face of the investigation, interviewed on national news, cited in congressional hearings, invited to speak at universities about systemic reform. When I was 16, she begins, voice steady through microphone. I learned that being poor and black and in foster care meant people saw you as disposable, as a liability, as someone whose pain was profitable. The audience is silent. Gavin Price stole millions. But what he really stole was hope. Every dollar he pocketed was a teenager who didn't get housing, a kid who aged out with nothing, a young person who believed the system when it said someone cared. She pauses, makes eye contact across the room. But here's what Gavin didn't understand, what people like him never understand. You can't kill hope, not permanently, because hope isn't built on money or programs or government funding. Her eyes find Dorian in the third row. Hope is built on one person deciding to care, one stranger standing in the rain, one quiet act of decency that says, you matter, you're worth protecting, you're not alone. Tears stream down faces throughout the audience. Someone starts clapping. Others join. Within seconds, the entire room is on their feet. Nerissa smiles through her own tears. Gavin Price is facing 20 years in federal prison. The stolen funds are being recovered and redistributed to programs that actually serve kids. And new oversight measures are being implemented across the state. She grips the podium. But the real victory isn't his downfall. It's every teenager who sees this story and realizes they have power. They have voice. They have worth that no system can steal. The applause is deafening. After the event, Dorian finds Nerissa surrounded by admirers, reporters, young people thanking her through tears. He hangs back, content to watch from a distance. But she sees him, excuses herself, crosses the room with purpose. You came, she says. Wouldn't miss it. I meant what I said up there. About hope. She glances back at the crowd. None of this happens without you. You did this, Nerissa. Your courage, your documentation, your refusal to stay silent. Our courage. She corrects gently. Yours and mine. Mrs. Okafor's. Every person who chose to stand when standing was hard. A reporter approaches, asking for comment. Nerissa squeezes Dorian's hand once, then returns to her role. Advocate, survivor, voice for the voiceless. Dorian slips out into evening air that smells like rain coming. His phone buzzes. Mira, texting from Mrs. Chen's. Did you see Miss Quinn on TV? She's so cool. Can we meet her? He texts back soon. Promise. The drive home takes him past the construction site where he used to work. New building going up now, steel framework reaching towards sky. Someone else is mixing cement, laying foundation, doing invisible labor that makes everything else possible. Dorian understands now why that work mattered. Because foundation is everything. Without it, nothing stands. The courtroom doors swing open at 9:47. Dorian stops mid-stride in the marble hallway, coffee cup frozen halfway to his lips. Through the narrow gap, he glimpses Gavin Price being led in handcuffs past rows of spectators, reporters, advocates who've waited months for this moment. The silver hair is gone, shaved down to stubble. The expensive suit replaced with orange jumpsuit and shame. Nerissa stands beside Dorian, navy blazer pressed sharp, shoulders straight. Her fingers tap against her thigh, the only tell that she's nervous. You ready for this? He asks. She doesn't answer immediately, just watches through that gap as Gavin is seated at the defense table, wrists still bound, head down like a man who knows exactly how this ends. I've been ready since I was 16, she finally says. Mrs. Okafor appears from around the corner, purple pantsuit immaculate, reading glasses perched on her nose. Behind her, a line of young people, former foster youth, current clients of Youth Justice Coalition, teenagers whose lives intersected with stolen money and fake programs. They fill the hallway like a river of testimony waiting to flood. Judge Patterson is presiding, Mrs. Okafor announces. Fair but tough. He doesn't tolerate fraud, especially when it involves children. A bailiff emerges, calls Neressa's name. The first witness. The foundation of everything. She straightens her blazer, glances at Dorian one last time. For every kid who didn't have someone stand in the rain, she whispers. Then she walks through those doors into a courtroom packed with people who've waited years for justice to remember their names. Dorian takes a seat in the gallery between Mrs. Okafor and a young woman named Kendra, 19, aged out of foster care at 18 with nothing but a garbage bag of clothes and Gavin's empty promises about job training programs that never materialized. The judge enters. Everyone rises. Sits. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Linda Chun, begins her opening statement with numbers that sound impossible until you realize they represent real lives. $3.7 million over 4 years. Federal grant money allocated specifically for at-risk youth. Housing assistance that never housed anyone. Educational programs that never taught a single class. Job training that trained nobody. She turns, faces the jury of 12 citizens who look appropriately horrified. The defense will argue this was accounting error. Mismanagement. Unfortunate oversight. Linda's voice hardens. But the evidence will show you something else entirely. Deliberate theft. Systematic fraud. A man who looked at vulnerable children and saw profit margin. Gavin sits motionless at the defense table. His lawyer, expensive, polished, exactly what you'd expect, takes notes on a legal pad with gold pen that probably costs more than Kendra's monthly rent. Neressa is sworn in. Takes the witness stand with the same composed grace she carried through that cafe confrontation months ago. The prosecutor approaches gently, establishing timeline, employment history, the moment everything changed. Ms. Quinn, can you describe what you discovered in March of this year? Neressa's voice carries clear through the courtroom. I was reviewing quarterly budget reports for Youth Justice Coalition. We're supposed to serve approximately 200 clients annually, teenagers aging out of foster care, kids needing housing assistance, educational support, job placement. And what did you find? The numbers didn't match. We were billing federal grants for programs serving 500 clients, but our actual client list was under 200. The excess billing was going to vendor contracts I'd never seen before. The prosecutor displays documents on screens throughout the courtroom. Spreadsheets showing discrepancies, invoices for services never rendered, bank transfers disappearing into shell companies. What happened when you brought this to Mr. Price's attention? Neressa's jaw tightens. He told me I was confused, that I didn't understand how nonprofits work, that I should focus on my job and stop asking questions above my pay grade. But you didn't stop. No, because I remember being 16 and sleeping in my car. I remembered what it felt like when the system failed me. I wasn't going to let that keep happening to other kids just because my boss told me to look the other way. The gallery murmurs approval. Judge Patterson doesn't silence them, just watches Neressa with expression that might be respect. The defense attorney stands for cross-examination. His strategy becomes immediately clear. Attack credibility, emphasize youth and inexperience. Remind everyone of the teenage runaway with a criminal record. Ms. Quinn, you were once accused of theft, correct? I was falsely accused by my foster guardian. The charges were never prosecuted, but there was a police report filed. Your name was associated with criminal activity. My name was associated with survival. There's a difference. The attorney shifts tactics. You had access to confidential financial documents. Isn't it true you copied those documents without authorization? I copied evidence of fraud. Yes. So you admit to violating your employment agreement? Taking proprietary information? Neressa leans forward slightly. I took proof that children were being robbed. If that's a violation, I'll violate it every time. Scattered applause breaks out. Judge Patterson raps his gavel once, but his eyes betray amusement. The defense attorney realizes he's losing this battle. Sits down quickly. Neressa is excused, returns to the gallery where Mrs. Okafor pulls her into a fierce hug. The prosecution calls witness after witness. Forensic accountants who traced money through shell companies back to Gavin's personal accounts. Former employees who testified about pressure to inflate numbers and falsify reports. Board members who admitted signing off on programs they never actually verified. But the most devastating testimony comes from the kids themselves. Kendra takes the stand, describes aging out at 18 with promises of job training that never came. How she submitted application after application to programs listed on Youth Justice Coalition's website, only to discover they didn't exist. How she ended up homeless for 6 months because the housing assistance she qualified for had been billed to federal grants, but never actually provided. A young man named Deshaun, 20 years old, talks about educational scholarships he was told he'd received. Scholarships that were invoiced to government programs, but never reached his college account. He had to drop out after 1 semester, work double shifts at fast food restaurants, watch his dreams dissolve because money meant for him went to Gavin's vacation home. By day 3, the jury looks angry. Not confused, not skeptical, angry. Gavin's defense is predictable. Blame subordinates, claim ignorance, suggest the board failed in oversight responsibilities. His lawyer presents him as overwhelmed CEO, well-intentioned but drowning in paperwork, unaware of accounting irregularities happening below him. But then Linda Chun plays the video. The cafe footage, Gavin's threats, his own words about destroying Neressa, reminding everyone of her criminal record, making her disappear. His voice dripping with contempt for the woman who dared question his empire. Does that sound like a man unaware of wrongdoing? Linda asks the jury. Or does that sound like a man desperate to protect his secrets? The defense has no good answer. Closing arguments happen on Friday afternoon. The prosecution methodically connects every thread: stolen money, fake programs, intimidation cover-up. They paint picture of predator who saw vulnerable children as commodity, who built wealth on their suffering, who threatened anyone brave enough to expose him. The defense argues reasonable doubt, accounting complexity, lack of criminal intent. The jury deliberates for 6 hours. When they return, the forewoman stands with paper in hand, an expression that tells the story before words do. On count 1, wire fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Gavin's head drops. On count 2, theft of federal funds, guilty. His lawyer closes his eyes. On count 3, conspiracy to commit fraud, guilty. Count after count. Guilty, guilty, guilty. 14 counts total, each one representing children robbed, lives damaged, trust destroyed. Judge Patterson schedules sentencing for 6 weeks out. Federal guidelines suggest 20 years minimum. Restitution to be determined. The courtroom erupts. Not chaos, something deeper. Relief, vindication. The sound of people who stopped believing justice could reach them finally seeing it arrive. Neressa sits very still. Tears run down her face, but she makes no sound. Just breathes, in and out, like she's been holding her breath for years and finally remembers how lungs work. Dorian reaches over, takes her hand. Mrs. Okafor takes the other. Around them, former foster youth embrace, cry, celebrate in the quiet way of people who've learned not to make too much noise or someone might notice, and take it away. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. Cameras flash. Microphones thrust forward. Linda Chun gives official statement about justice being served, federal oversight being strengthened, funds being recovered. But the reporters want Neressa. She stands on courthouse steps, Dorian and Mrs. Okafor flanking her like anchors, and speaks to cameras broadcasting her words across the city. This verdict isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. It's about saying that stealing from children has consequences. That nobody is too powerful to face justice. What's next for you? A reporter calls out. Neressa's smile is tired but genuine. Same thing I've been doing. Helping kids who need someone to believe in them. Making sure the system works for them instead of against them. Honoring every person who stood up when staying silent was easier. Her eyes find Dorian. And remembering that change doesn't start with big gestures or powerful people. It starts with one decent human being deciding to care. The press conference ends. The crowd disperses. Evening settles over the city with that particular quality of autumn light that makes everything feel both ending and beginning. Dorian walks Nerissa to her car, a modest sedan, nothing fancy, bought with salary from work that actually helps people. She leans against the door, exhaustion finally catching up. "You should celebrate," Dorian says. "This is a victory." "I will. Soon." She looks up at courthouse building behind them, granite and glass, and the weight of justice attempting to balance scales. "But right now I just feel tired and grateful, and like maybe I can finally stop running." "You were never running. You were fighting. Same thing sometimes." She hugs him. Not the quick embrace from before, but something longer. The kind of hug that acknowledges shared trauma, mutual respect, the strange bond formed between two people who met in rain and found each other again when the world needed them to stand together. "Thank you," she whispers, "for being the foundation I built on, for showing me what real power looks like. You showed yourself, Nerissa. I was just there for one night. That's all it takes sometimes. One night, one moment, one person who decides someone else matters." She pulls back, wipes her eyes, gets in her car, drives away into traffic and streetlights, and a future that finally belongs to her instead of the people who try to steal it. Dorian stands alone on the sidewalk, white linen suit traded months ago for practical work clothes that fit his new position at the architecture firm. Senior project manager. Benefits and salary and respect he forgot people could offer. His first project, redesigning Youth Justice Coalition's office space, is nearly complete. New conference rooms, private counseling areas, a resource library filled with books about healing and hope. His phone buzzes. Mira, 10 years old now, texting from home. "Dad, when are you coming?" "I made dinner." He texts back, "On my way." "What are we eating?" Her response, "Spaghetti, but the fancy kind with the sauce from a jar, that's not the cheap one." He laughs, gets in his truck, same vehicle, different life. The drive home takes him through neighborhoods, transforming as evening deepens. Past the construction site where he used to dig foundations. Past the cafe where everything changed. Past the gas station on Route 9 where a terrified girl once shivered in the rain. All of it connected, all of it matching. His apartment, not tiny anymore, upgraded 6 months ago to 2-bedroom with actual space. Smells like tomato sauce and garlic bread when he opens the door. Mira stands in the kitchen wearing an apron that says future chef and a smile that lights up every shadow. "I used a recipe from that cooking show," she announces proudly. The one where the lady says food is love. They eat at a real dining table instead of sitting on the couch balancing plates. She tells him about school, a new friend, a hard test, a teacher who said her essay about heroes was the best in class. "Who did you write about?" Dorian asks. "You." Obviously, his throat closes. "Mira, I wrote about the man in the cafe. How you stood up, even when you were scared. How you taught me that being brave doesn't mean not being afraid. It means being afraid and standing up anyway. I wasn't that brave, baby." "Yes, you were. You are." She takes another bite of spaghetti, completely certain of her truth. "Ms. Quinn says you changed her life. Mrs. Chun says the whole neighborhood is proud. My teacher says you're an inspiration. And what do you say?" She grins. "I say you're my dad, and that's better than anything else." After dinner, after dishes, after Mira is asleep with homework completed and teeth brushed and the small rituals of childhood carefully observed, Dorian sits at the kitchen table with his old sketchbook. The pages aren't empty anymore. He's been drawing again. Buildings that don't exist yet. Community centers designed for healing. Housing that actually houses people with dignity. Spaces that acknowledge pain and offer possibility. Tonight, he sketches something new, a memorial garden. Small park with benches and walking paths, and a wall inscribed with names of foster youth lost to the system. Not forgotten, not erased, remembered with the weight they deserved while living. His pencil moves across paper with the certainty of someone who's remembered why this work matters. Why foundation is everything. Why one person caring can shift the world just enough that others see possibility instead of just pain. Around midnight, his phone rings. Unknown number. He almost doesn't answer, but something makes him pick up. Mr. Hale? Young voice. Female. Nervous. Yeah. Who's this? My name is Tamika. I am 17. I'm in foster care, and I'm scared, and Ms. Quinn gave me your number and said if I ever needed proof that good people exist, I should call you, even though that sounds crazy, but I didn't know who else. Tamika. Dorian's voice goes gentle. Slow down. Tell me what's wrong. She does. Story that sounds too familiar. Foster guardians stealing her money, threatening her if she reports, making her feel trapped and invisible and like nobody would believe her anyway. I don't know what to do, she finishes. I don't know if running makes it worse or staying makes me disappear. Dorian thinks of rain, of gas stations, of a girl named Keisha who became Neressa, of every moment since that night that proved one action creates ripples impossible to measure. You're not disappearing, he says firmly, and you're not alone. Give me your address. I'm going to connect you with people who can help. Real help. Legal advocates. Safe housing. People who've been where you are and made it through. You promise? I promise. And Tamika, whatever happens next, you remember this. You matter. Your life matters. Your safety matters. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. He hears her crying softly. Thank you. Thank you so much. They talk for 20 more minutes. Dorian takes notes, promises to call Mrs. Okafor first thing in the morning, assures Tamika that help is coming and she just needs to hold on a little longer. When he finally hangs up, exhaustion hits like a physical weight. But underneath it, something else burns. Purpose. He pulls up his contacts, finds Neressa's number, texts, just got a call from a girl named Tamika. We need to help her. Can you meet tomorrow? Her response comes immediately, already on it. Mrs. Okafor called me an hour ago. Tamika is safe. We're filing reports in the morning. Thank you for being there. Dorian sets his phone down, looks at his sketchbook, at the memorial garden taking shape in graphite and hope, at the life he's building that finally feels like it fits the man he's trying to become. The white linen suit still hangs in his closet. Hope-colored, pressed and ready. He doesn't wear it often, doesn't need costume to be the person his wife believed he could be. But it's there, waiting, for the next moment when someone needs proof that decency exists. That strangers care, that standing in the rain for another human being is always worth the getting wet. Morning will come. Work will continue. More Tamikas will call needing help. The fight for justice doesn't end with one verdict or one victory. It stretches forward into all the tomorrows that haven't happened yet, demanding attention and action and the daily choice to care when indifference is easier. But tonight, Dorian sleeps, and he dreams of foundations that hold, of buildings that shelter, of a world where every child who needs someone finds them, where rain doesn't have to feel like drowning, where being seen and believed and protected isn't miracle, it's baseline, standard, the bare minimum humanity owes its most vulnerable. He dreams of change. And when morning breaks through his bedroom window with golden light that promises nothing but offers everything, Dorian rises with the certainty that change isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. One moment, one choice, one person deciding to stand when staying seated feels safer. Foundation for everything that comes next. And the story, Neressa's and his and Tamika's and every person still waiting to be seen, continues unfolding in ways none of them can predict, but all of them will shape together. Because that's how hope works. Not as destination, as practice, daily, deliberate, decent, the kind of power no system can steal and no verdict can create. The kind that lives in choices made when nobody's watching and the world says it doesn't matter. It matters. It always has. It always will.